China flexes its military muscles in live fire drills near Taiwan, the latest military activity in the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan leans into geothermal energy, but just how much potential does it have?
We're in the U.S. state of Pennsylvania to see what a victory from Vice President Kamala Harris and the Democrats in the upcoming U.S. election means for the future of Taiwan's defense.
Plus,
我的性别我决定.
Taiwan debates the rules around changing gender markers on IDs, and safety concerns clash with ideas of comfort. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Philip Brossard. The military says it's on high alert after China held live fire exercises in the Taiwan Strait on Tuesday morning. Jaime Okan has been following the drills, and he brings us this update.
China has wrapped up its latest iteration of live fire exercises in the Taiwan Strait. The drills were just off the coast of the country near Nyosan Island, are actually one of the closest Chinese islands to Taiwan, just 125 kilometers away from the main island of Taiwan. China's Maritime and Safety Administration closed some of the waters near the area and told vessels to avoid the area during the drill. In terms of size, these drills are not the largest, but it's the timing of the drill that's really grabbed a lot of the attention. The exercises come just a week after China conducted large-scale drills simulating a blockade of Taiwan. The exercises also come just 2 days after the U.S. and Canada sailed guided missile destroyers through the Taiwan Strait. Beijing does not like when foreign militaries operate in the Taiwan Strait, as it believes that this body of water, as well as Taiwan as a whole, is part of its own territory. Taiwan's defense ministry says it's deployed the military to monitor the situation and learn what exactly is China practicing. Taiwan is also getting ready to conduct live fire exercises in the Taiwan Strait, with planned live fire tank and missile drills planned for Penghu on Thursday. Taiwan's military says that its military exercises are more of a demonstration of its capability, saying that it's willing to do everything it can to defend its borders. Devin Tai and Jaime Okan in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's main opposition party wants the government to clarify its civil defense plans, as Rick Glauert reports how to manage the threat posed by neighboring China is causing social and political rifts in Taiwan.
Here at Taiwan's legislature, the government's big plan for civil defense is coming under fire. President Lai Ching-te recently launched the Whole of Society Defense Resilience Committee. It's designed to prepare the country for potential natural disasters like typhoons and earthquakes, but also a potential attack from China, which claims Taiwan and has recently increased threats to take by force. The government here says the country must be prepared to defend itself. It has boosted defense spending, extended conscription, and rolled out civil defense programs. But the country's main opposition group, the Kuomintang or KMT, say the government's plan is going too far, militarizing society and instilling fear of war.
国人都在问，战争是不是已经要来临了？要不然为什么要这样全民皆兵哦？民进党执政之后3不5时的呢，就挑衅，而且让两岸的关系越来越紧张。
Opposition legislators point to recent controversy over high school students being asked to volunteer for the Youth Service Corps. They say parents were concerned that their children could be sent to the front line. But the government said the Youth Service Corps has no military role. It's not unusual for opposition lawmakers like these to attack the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, particularly when it comes to China and defense. The Kuomintang believes in closer ties with Beijing and accuses the ruling Democratic Progressive Party of stoking tensions across the strait. What sort of relationship Taipei should have with Beijing and how to face the China threat splits society and politics here. Opposition lawmakers are now calling on the government to be clearer about what role it expects Taiwanese citizens to play in the event of war. Joseph Wu and Rick Glauert in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
A former Taipei kindergarten teacher is facing fresh charges of sexual abuse. The teacher already faces 28 years in prison for over 200 offenses against 6 different children, but an investigation by a high court has uncovered 39 new victims. The prosecution believes there may be over 100 victims and is calling for a heavy sentence. Taiwan's export orders increased more than 7% from August to September, marking the 7th month of growth in a row. It's also the third highest September on record. The Economic Ministry says orders for the month reached nearly $54 billion, 4.6% higher than the same month last year. Demand for new technologies like AI and high-performance computing is driving the growth. Analysts say the upward trend is likely to continue into October. Taiwan is drilling its first deep geothermal well in the northeast of the country. The well in Yilan is a joint project by state-owned refiner CPC and Taiwan's top research institute Academia Sinica. At a ceremony marking the start of drilling, Economy Minister Guo Zhihui pledged subsidies for the creation of a complete geothermal supply chain to help the country transition to green energy. Now, to learn more about what Taiwan's latest geothermal project and geothermal's potential in the country, John Van Trieste spoke to Wang Shoucheng of the Taiwan Geothermal Association.
What can you tell us about the state of geothermal power in Taiwan right now?
现在台湾有5座地热电厂，然后预计在明年会有3座新增的地热电厂。预计在2025年的目标是20 megawatt。我想大概1个 megawatt 可以供应1000户的家庭用电是没有问题的。
So what is a deep geothermal well, and how is it different from all the other geothermal projects Taiwan has put in place so far?
简单说，越接近地形，温度越高。好，然后呢，它的热也会越稳定。如果我们做这个 deep geothermal， 它的特性就是说，我在面对风险的时候，我可以比较低，因为我知道下面的热是稳定的。一般国际上定义大概在3000公尺以下，深度超过3000公尺，我们就会定义成deep geothermal。
What's the potential for geothermal power in Taiwan? Is it a serious candidate for helping us get off fossil fuels and nuclear power?
它中断了28年，所以我们这一段时间，我们其实是落后菲律宾跟印尼很多的。工程技术跟产业链上面都是比较有可能取代的，会是燃煤电厂，未来地热。那地热在台湾有很巨大的潜能，我们叫 potential。30年前，台湾政府调查出来就有26个地方可以发展地热发电，那实际上还有更多地方是没有被调查出来的。
That was director of the Taiwan Geothermal Association, Wang Shoucheng. Kamala Harris is looking to make history as the U.S.'s first female president, aiming to tackle topics ranging from conflict in the Middle East to the economy and Taiwan. In part 2 of our series, Defending Taiwan, we take a look at what a potential Harris administration could mean for Taiwan's security.
Years ago, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris and then Taiwan Vice President Lai Ching-te met for the first time in Honduras. Fast forward to 2024, and Lai Ching-te is now president, and the U.S. is preparing to elect a new leader, with Kamala Harris the Democratic contender. But what would a Harris administration mean for Taiwan's defense? As the U.S. is Taiwan's largest provider of weapons, military advisors, and equipment. Here's what she told the U.S. show 60 Minutes when asked what the U.S. would do if Taiwan was attacked by China.
Listen, we need to make sure that we maintain a one China policy, but that includes supporting Taiwan's ability to defend itself.
These comments are consistent with U.S. policy, acknowledging Beijing's claims on Taiwan without recognizing it, while at the same time maintaining a friendly, unofficial relationship with Taipei. The question now is whether Kamala Harris could bring something new to the table in terms of Taiwan's security if she wins the presidency. To answer that, TaiwanPlus traveled to the U.S. Pennsylvania is seen as a key battleground state in the upcoming U.S. presidential election. And here in Philadelphia, members of Taiwan's ruling Democratic Progressive Party, as well as other political parties from Taiwan, are meeting here with U.S. defense officials to discuss the future of security cooperation with the next U.S. administration. At the annual U.S. Taiwan Defense Industry Conference, we met Iris Shaw, the newly appointed director of the DPP's Washington, D.C. office.
Coming back as the head of the office, you get to feel like this is sort of the homecoming.
Even though she's only held the post for a few months, she's got almost a decade of experience facilitating unofficial ties between the U.S. and Taiwan. And she says she doesn't expect anything new with the potential Harris administration.
I could attest to the fact that all of the robust bilateral engagements from the Trump administration to the Biden administration have been a lot of consistencies. We are nothing but confident that whoever the American people choose in November, the robust and bipartisan support and engagement for both countries will continue.
But analysts here at the conference are highlighting what could be a game-changing tool for the next administration. In recent years, the U.S. has come up with a new way to provide for Taiwan's defense. President Biden is the first U.S. president to use Presidential Drawdown Authority, or PDA, to expedite and send military equipment to Taiwan. This is a presidential order and one of the fastest ways to give defense aid, as these weapons come from existing U.S. stockpiles. If Harris wins, she could continue providing defense aid to Taiwan in this way. That's compared with how Trump led his Taiwan policy as president, securing more arms sales to Taiwan than any other administration.
She'll be the first president to come into office with these existing things. There will not need to be a congressional fight. If there is a fight with Congress, it'll be over numbers and figures, not over the authorities. So I don't know how she will utilize them, but she has new tools that I hope she will continue to utilize.
And it's not just about giving Taiwan weapons, as Harris has been particularly active as vice president in engaging with countries in Asia and representing the U.S., touring a Coast Guard in the Philippines, meeting with foreign representatives in Singapore, and attending the funeral of Japan's late Prime Minister Abe Shinzo. It's these kinds of relationships that could help Taiwan garner support from the international community.
Biden has a good relationship with Kishida. I expect Harris will continue to have a good relationship with whatever happens in Tokyo. She already has the Philippines in line. So I think that this is good for Taiwan, that having a coalescence of U.S. allies that know and trust a potential Democratic president.
When it comes to Kamala Harris and her Taiwan policy, analysts use the word consistency. They're expecting the same level of aid and engagement from a possible Harris administration as they did under Biden. Andy Xue and Jaime Ocon in Washington, D.C. for TaiwanPlus.
Stay tuned for part 3 of our Defending Taiwan series, where we look at what a second Trump presidency could mean for Taiwan's defense. Coming up after the break, Putin addresses the BRICS Summit as member states imagine a new economic order.
From industrial parks in Taiwan to here in Vietnam, we're bringing you the latest in tech and business news right here on TaiwanPlus News.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Taiwan's representative to the APEC Summit has officially been announced. Former Vice Premier Lin Xin-yi will lead Taiwan's delegation to the Economic Forum in Peru in November. Reese Ayers has more.
77-year-old Lin Xin-yi has been selected to represent Taiwan at this year's Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC. Lin, currently a senior advisor to President Lai Ching-te, is a fitting pick for the job. He's worn many hats over the decades, both in the public and private sectors. In the private sphere, he's got years of experience in managerial roles in the automobile and insurance industries. And in the public sector, Lin served first as the economy minister and then as the vice premier of Taiwan in the early 2000s under then President Chen Shui-bian. He's since been advisor for two more DPP presidents, Tsai Ing-wen and Lai Ching-te. Due to his varied background, Lin is said to have a sound understanding of Taiwan's industrial development and of global economics. Important knowledge if he's to promote Taiwan at such a key multinational gathering. Lin also reportedly has keen diplomacy skills. He represented Taiwan at APEC 2005 in Korea, where he met with then Chinese President Hu Jintao, even shaking hands with him in a rare display of warming relations. Crucially, Lin is a less political pick than Taiwan's first choice, former Vice President Qian Jianren, considered too political for China, who reportedly pressured Peru into denying him attendance. With Lin going to Peru, the hopes are that his humble approach to diplomacy and his mix of experiences in the public and private sectors can both stimulate economic opportunities for Taiwan and, as Chinese President Xi Jinping will be there, extend another olive branch to Beijing. Justin Wu, Luffy Li and Rees in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
South Korea is considering supplying weapons to Ukraine. A senior official says the move would be a response to deepening military ties between North Korea and Russia. Pyongyang has reportedly deployed around 1,500 troops to help Moscow in its invasion of Ukraine, with plans to send around 12,000 in all. South Korea has said the North should remove its troops from Russia, threatening diplomatic, economic, and military measures. Peru's former president, Alejandro Toledo, has been sentenced to more than 20 years in prison for taking bribes. Toledo was convicted of accepting $35 million from a Brazilian construction firm while he was president between 2001 and 2006. In the exchange, the firm won a contract to build a highway connecting the two South American countries. It's Peru's first high-profile conviction in a massive international corruption scandal. The investigation also led to the arrest and conviction of Brazilian President Lula da Silva, though his conviction was later annulled. Member states of BRICS are set to meet in Russia. The group has come a long way since its inception and has branded itself as a leader of the Global South, with new members set to take part in the summit for the first time. To learn more about what to expect from the meeting, our reporter Adele Brar spoke to Eric Olander of the China Global South Project in Ho Chi Minh City.
What's the significance of the latest BRICS summit that's set to get underway in Russia's Kazan?
Well, first and foremost, I think the fact that it's happening in the same 7-day week period as the IMF World Bank spring meetings provides a fascinating contrast now between an adolescent development finance organization and one that's in its 80th year. And so we're really going to see the contrast in how Global South countries and this coalition of countries at the BRICS have a very different vision for how to manage the global economic order than what we're going to hear out of Washington. So the key question now is going to be, can BRICS transition into something? Because again, this doesn't have a lot of shape to it. It's very heavy on symbolism.
Several countries have expressed interest in formally joining BRICS. What will the expansion of BRICS mean for the grouping?
We don't know if the expansion is going to be something good for BRICS, because already we're starting to see some of the growing pains in BRICS. The BRICS could not issue a joint statement out of the foreign ministers' meetings on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, in part because Ethiopia and Egypt could not agree on backing South Africa for a permanent seat on the UN Security Council. We've started to see more countries say, you know what, the BRICS is not for me. Algeria, Kazakhstan, Indonesia have all said, this isn't going to be for me. There's going to be a lot of evaluation from new members as to whether or not the BRICS becomes ideological, that is an anti-Western organization. And given the fact that China, Iran, and Russia are all members of it, there is a good chance that it could become much more ideological.
What topics do you expect BRICS to tackle going forward?
So the most important thing right now, and what the BRICS has served up until now, is a venue for countries to have a collective frustration with the way that the US and European international order is led. They don't like it. They don't like a dollar-led economy. They don't like a lot of what they perceive as to be gross hypocrisy from the West. That is, monetary policy tightening in developing countries is the tonic that should be done, but at the same time, printing money in US and Europe and Japan was what they do. And they see constant hypocrisies in the way that the system is run, and they feel that it is inherently unjust and unfair.
That was Eric Olander with the China Global South Project. China has confirmed it reached a resolution with India to reduce tensions along a disputed border in the Himalayas.
近段时间以来，中印双方通过外交和军事渠道就中印边境的有关问题保持密切沟通。目前，双方已就有关问题达成了解决方案，中方对此予以积极评价。下一步，中方将与印方落实好上述解决方案。
It comes a day after India's foreign minister announced the two sides had reached a deal on patrolling the contested area. He says it could lead to disengagement in an area that saw clashes between the two nuclear-armed neighbors in 2020. Those left 20 Indian and 4 Chinese soldiers dead. India says officials from the two countries held several rounds of negotiations over the past few weeks before coming to the agreement. Advocates are trying to get the government to waive the requirement for transgender people to undergo gender-affirming surgery before they can change their ID marker. But that campaign has sparked controversy. Scholars and lawyers say protecting the freedom of choosing one's gender can be done without compromising others. Irene Lin reports.
Five years have passed since the first time a transgender person in Taiwan got to change their national ID gender marker without first getting surgery. Since then, there have been 4 winning cases and 1 losing. Some transgender people are still fighting in court and in their personal lives to be accepted as who they truly are while protecting the body they were born in. All these struggles over 1 bit of information on a legal document.
Once you turn 14 in Taiwan, you'll need to come to a registration office like this one to apply for your national identification card, which only lists your biological sex, not your preferred identity. To change that marker, you'll need to go through a checklist of things to start the paperwork.
That's based on an administrative rule enforced by the Interior Ministry since 2008. It requires you to be at least 20 years old, have gone through gender reaffirming surgery to remove reproductive organs, and have 2 psychological assessments to validate your need for surgery. But these rules are not legally binding. That means each person who wants to change their ID can challenge the criteria in court. Nailpon has been on the front line of these legal battles, representing plaintiffs who want to change their ID without medical intervention. But since each case is judged individually, it's a never-ending battle until the ministry revises the rule.
这么多判决都已经至少去讲说手术要件是不对的，不应该再继续采纳这个手术要件。但是我们目前还没有看到内政部就是对于法院已经有这么多判决都已经讲得很清楚，至少手术要件应该要拿掉这件事情，他没有得到任何的回应。
Outside of the courtroom, the momentum to do away with the surgery rules has sparked protest from some women. They say it could compromise their safety and privacy in public spaces like restrooms. But gender studies scholar Chen Yiqian says such fears have a deeper root.
他害怕的其实是那个过去男女不平等、男性独尊的那一种用物理性的暴力来强制女性的那些行为。可是我们现在谈的这一群人，他完全不是这样的人，他身体的特征还具备有我们传统上认为的男性，可是这跟他一点关联都没有。其实大部分我认识跨性别，如果特别是跨女，他就是很不喜欢那个状态啊。
As Taiwan society becomes more openly diverse and inclusive, protecting everyone's safety and rights may begin with modifying infrastructure.
比如说，我们现在有非常多性别的友善空间，所谓的性别友善厕所，可是你一进去没有友善啊，没有隔间，他只是把男女一起让他们一起上厕所，这个并不是性别友善的空间。
With improvements in public space designs and more education, Chen says society would then be ready to embrace gender diversity in the legal and social spheres, and potentially accept a third gender on IDs.
所以这个所谓的第三性别、法定性别的这个设计，其实是为了所有不想要被这个男女二性困在这个道路上面的人所设计的。我们是有准备这个设计，不过它目前是这个草案，你自己决定标准会是什么。如果你想动手术，你就动手术；如果你已经有补充荷尔蒙质，你觉得这样足够了，那你就依照你的性别认同去更换性别。
Taiwan's transgender community is waiting for a green light from official decision makers, which may take years. But lawyers like Pan are confident in the direction they're heading.
那如果真的案件有一天跨性别者这个变更性别登记对这个案件走到宪法法庭的话，那到了宪法法庭才会是一个有可能是一个通案式的解决。
Whether transgender people can be themselves without the physical and financial burdens of surgery and social scrutiny requires open conversations among everyone in society. John Su and Irene Lin for TaiwanPlus.
Thanks for joining us here on TaiwanPlus News. Check out the TaiwanPlus website or follow our socials for more of our stories. Finally today, we leave you with these images from London's Kew Gardens decked out in pumpkins for Halloween. I'm Philip Brossard, take care, and we'll see you next time.